Okay, so yesterday we talked about some really interesting things, in particular deductive reasoning, and I want to go to, since she looks so prepared, can you tell the people in the back what's the difference between deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning? Good. Okay, so if we're thinking inductively, we're using specific bits of evidence, and we talked about what types of evidence there are, right? Mm-hmm. Specific types of evidence we're using to induce a larger verdict or claim, right? And this is when an attorney in a trial will use, the murder weapon, the bloody fingerprint, the muddy footprint, the witness down the hall. All those are inductively brought to bear for that guilty verdict. And you guys do that in your essays when you're citing specifics from a text to prove something you're saying about a text you've read in English class, right? So yesterday we learned about deductive reasoning, which is much more difficult because you have to memorize those laws of logic that Aristotle gave us. If you're going to be able to use them when you're on your toes in the middle of a debate, you actually have to be able to have memory of what those are. Cause and effect. For every cause, there's an effect. The law of contraries. If something's true, its opposite must be true. You have to have access to those, so that's why I assigned you to make flashcards on those. Okay. So, deductive reasoning. Let's suppose you're in an argument. You've done inductive reasoning, so you're a good critical thinker. You've brought in good solid evidence. You've tested your evidence. You know it's accurate. It's clear, it's relevant, it's timely. You bring that evidence to you show someone the evidence, can't change their mind. Could that happen? Mm-hmm. You show someone the facts, they still won't change their mind. Could that happen? Mm-hmm. So then you say, okay, I'll try deductive reasoning. Okay, so I'm going to show them how this is an example of cause and effect, or this is an example of correlation. And you show them this law of logic that's brought to bear here, and that you still can't change the person's mind. Could that happen? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it could. And you have now just discovered that you're in the middle of an argument. Well, we have a technical term for that type of person. Aristotle says you're in an argument with a fool. Right? And what's he say is the best thing to do if you're arguing with a fool is probably walk away. Because if you're arguing with a fool, that makes you the bigger fool. Okay, so you've tried logos in both of its ways. Okay, so the first and preferable way to appeal to someone is logos. You've tried the inductive reasoning, the evidence. You've tried the deductive reasoning, the laws of logic, the enthymeme. Okay, and we talked yesterday about the structure of deductive reasoning. What's one part of how we make a deduction? He listed 3 steps. What's one step for making a deduction? I gave a 3-step process for making a deduction. Do you remember any of that? It ends with therefore.
Is a major premise.
We have a major premise.
Step 2 is the minor premise.
Then the minor premise.
And third is a proposition.
The proposition. The claim I'm making is the proposition, as evinced by the weather this month, right? Okay, so you've practiced your flashcards, you've tried your deductions, you've tried using evidence. None of that works. You're not getting your way. You're not changing someone's mind. So what do? A lot of times you can just walk away. So, well, I'm not going to change that person's mind. But sometimes you have to stay and argue. Why is that? I want you to write it down. I'll write it down with you. So you have to keep arguing because you have a moral and ethical duty to help the truth prevail. You have a moral and ethical duty to help the truth prevail. I like prevail, but basically just means to help the truth win. You have a moral and ethical duty to fight for right. Moral, meaning, can you come back? We're busy. Moral means, okay, what society thinks is right or wrong. So you have a duty to stand up for what your society thinks is right, but ethics is your personal sense of right or wrong. You also have a duty to stand up for what you personally believe to be right, to be true. Why? Why do you have that duty? Can you guys promise me that you're going to fight for right? Because I'm going to show you some very powerful things today, and a lot of people outside there in the world are going to use these same tricks to fight for deceiving you, tricking you into buying something you don't need, voting in ways that are actually bad for you, forming bad ideas. So I want you guys as graduates of my class to fight for truth, for what's right. Okay? Now, the reason this is so important, we're going to add this to our notes right here. Let's put this because it can be a matter of life or death. It can be a matter of, well, I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but, well, let's apply this to the real world. Is it possible that someday, maybe 5, 10 years from now, can you in your future see yourself as a responsible adult? And one day you're getting your mail, and there's a strange looking envelope. You open it, it says, you have been summoned for jury duty. Could that happen to you?
Have you done it?
Yeah.
This year?
Not yet. How many of you know someone who has received one of those jury summonses? So almost every hand goes up. Yeah, the odds are actually very high. Probably about every other year you're going to be summoned. This county has over 100,000 people get summoned every year to go for jury duty.
What if you don't go?
I think you get a big fine.
Or you go to jail, right?
I don't know if they'd actually would throw you in jail, but I think they would probably put a lien on you where you'd have to pay off a fine. So it's serious. You get jury duty. If on the day you show up, you have your appointment, you'll go and there's all kinds of people there from all kinds of jobs. And they have this big room. It's kind of like a size of an auditorium down at the courthouse. You have to go through the scanners and go in there, and you're basically trapped in this room all day until they call your number to go upstairs to one of the courtrooms. And you have to wait. And there'll be hundreds of you sitting there because they have several courtrooms, and they need to go through and get groups of potential jurors and question them, and each attorney gets to throw ones out they don't like. They don't like the look of you. And they have to find 12 unbiased people for their case. So they go through this process they call the voir dire, where they decide who's going to be on their juries. Yes. If you get impaneled, okay, let's say you get impaneled on a murder case, all right? Someone is accused of committing a series of murders, and the prosecutor is going to seek, life in prison for this guy. Maybe not the death, maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe not the death penalty, but at the very least decades of this guy's life are going to be spent in prison. So we're talking about, that's kind of, you're killing a lot of the guy's years off in a way. So could that happen? Where you're asked to sit on a jury where someone could go to prison for a long time? Mm-hmm. That could happen. Let's suppose, yes, the prosecuting attorney, the assistant DA who's trying to prove this guy's guilty, let's say he's a young, freshly minted out of law school, young, good-looking guy, has great hair, nice ties. Every day he wears a really nice tie. And he's just got kind of a nice way about him. When he addresses the jury, when he's talking about some evidence or making his opening argument, he's got kind of a twinkle in his eye, and he looks at each juror in the eye, and it makes them feel like they've got a special bond with him. He's just smooth. This guy, he's suave, right? And as the course of the weeks of the trial go on, the jury just starts laughing at his jokes. I mean, he's just got the jury eating out of his hand. He has so much charisma. On the other hand, the poor defendant, the court appointed him some old burned out public defender who's not getting paid very much to defend him. And it's some guy who's maybe bald, maybe paunchy, maybe kind of slovenly looking. Looks like maybe goes many nights in a row without a good night's sleep, kind of red rings around his eyes. You probably wouldn't want to smell his breath. He doesn't have nice shoes like the young, slick guy does. That guy's got nice Italian shoes. He's just got some old, crappy shoes. And he doesn't have the energy when he talks to the jury. It's just awkward. It's painful even listening to him he stutters, trying to get something out. He's awkward. And you're sitting there on the jury. Every time this guy's presenting something, you're just waiting for him to finish so you can go back to doodling. He's that painful. And you can tell this guy's kind of just phoning in the defense. You know, you can tell he really hasn't done his research. And to make it a long story short, you're on this jury and the prosecutor's just walking all over the defendant's attorney. And you're just saying, this is going to be a shoo-in. But as you're a graduate of my class, you're a critical thinker. And you've been weighing what you've been hearing and seeing, and you have some serious reservations about this guy's guilt. You know, you're not befooled for a minute by the slick presentation of this prosecuting young attorney. You see some serious holes in his case. Some of his evidence doesn't add up. He's got some things that are not accounted for. To make a long story short, you have some serious reservations and you do not feel that this guy has proven the guilt beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay? So, it comes to the end of the trial and the judge dismisses you and your other 11 jurors to go to a special room. You sit around a conference table. You elect someone to be the chairperson of the jury. It's not you, it's another guy. And he takes a vote. He says, okay, let's just, before we talk at all, let's see if we all have opinions here. And everyone puts their vote, or they do a roll call or whatever. And it's determined that there's 11 of them who say he's guilty, but you vote not guilty. So you got these 11 people who've spent 3 weeks of their life cooped up listening to this case, and they're all glaring at you. What do you mean? Don't you want to go home? Don't you want to be done? Didn't you see how this guy blew away this? He has no case. And they're all kind of angry with you, and they're going to try to work on you and persuade you to change your vote so that they don't have a hung jury and a mistrial. And it's 11 against 1. Could that happen to you? Yes. Is that plausible? Yes. And you say, okay, folks, last time I checked, we're supposed to only find guilty if it's beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I'm sorry, there are some serious doubts in this case. And I think we need to debate these a little bit before we just go right back after 5 minutes with a guilty verdict. And so they kind of see your point. They say, yeah, that would look kind of bad if we just went back after 5 minutes with a guilty. We'll listen to you. And you say, good, because I'm not going to change my mind. And so you go back over your notes that you've taken the past 3 weeks, because you've learned how to take good notes in my class. And you're pointing out specific things that are bothering you that don't make sense in finding that guilty verdict. You show them some holes in the evidence. In short, you go through all the lines of reasoning and all the evidence, the inductive and the deductive reasons why you can't agree with the guilty verdict. Okay? You spend the whole hour after lunch going over your notes, explaining that to them. And they patiently listen. And they say, okay, we heard your point of view. Let's see if anyone wants to join your camp. Let's say maybe you did persuade a few. Maybe now that 3 or 4 have come over on your side. So maybe it's Maybe it's 5 to 7. But they're still going to outnumber you, these people who want to throw the book at this guy and lock him up. So you're persuasive to a few of them. What can we say about the ones you did not persuade? They didn't see your evidence. They were not persuaded by facts or lack thereof. They were not persuaded by your good lines of reasoning. What do? Do you just give up?
No.
You have to fight because you have a moral and ethical duty to fight for truth. So you can't give up. So what do? Aristotle foresaw that you could end up in this situation. So in this case, you are now in a debate with some fools who can't change their, even when they see the problem with the evidence, they won't change their mind. So you have a special backup trick you can use. And that is called ethos. Okay, now ethos works a couple ways. It is to build up or tear down one's character or credentials, or to tear down your opponent. Politicians will use this a lot. On that sheet I gave you of the fallacies, I think it's number 9, is an ad hominem attack, where you attack the person's character. That would be tearing down his ethos. Okay, my opponent, you don't want to vote for him. You know, he had an affair while he was married with kids. Do you want someone who's so dishonest to his own wife and family to be leading our state? You're really going to vote for this womanizer philandering around? Okay, so you've just now torn down his character. The reality is his marital infidelities and problems might actually have nothing to do with how good a governor he might be. Right? There's no logic to what you're doing there. It's not a fact, it's just your opinion. It's not a fact that he would be a lousy governor because he had that affair with his wife. But you're attacking his character as a way to get voters to vote for you instead of him. Okay? So politicians will attack each other's characters all the time. Okay? Questioning someone's character issues. Okay? Or it's also building up someone's credentials. When you have someone introduced as a guest speaker, a lot of times people will say all their different credentials. He's done this, he's done this, he's done this, let's give a big hand for him. You know what I'm talking about? You know, you get like this laundry list of all this guy's accomplishments as they introduce him. They're building up his ethos so that you're willing to give him your attention, right? Yes. So here it is. It is also used to build or tear down a bridge to your audience. Okay, what we're talking about with ethos is you're pushing the us versus them button. Someone see if they can wake Giselle up. The NyQuil. It's the NyQuil. The Dayquil. It's Dayquil or NyQuil? It's just weaker. Okay, so are you ready to see how this works? Okay, this guy over here, born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Yeah, he went to Harvard, you know, wears the nice Italian shoes. He's had a life of privilege. He does not understand what you guys need or what you're going through. I do. My parents, simple farmers. I had to scratch and claw my way up through just basic public community colleges and eventually started my own business. And I understand you people. The hard, difficult task of raising your families, paying the bills, not getting the pay raises you need, because I'm one of you. This guy with his privileged past, he doesn't know, he's going to give tax breaks to all his rich friends. I'm going to fight for what you guys need. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
This is how these people talk. Okay? Alienate the opposition. Try to tear down any bridge so you see him as not like us. And I'm one of you. I'm with you. We're on the same team. So this is a very powerful tool. Now, ethos involves empathy. Okay? I know what it's like to be you. I can empathize. I'm building a bridge with you. You know, I'm having a little trouble with private conversation, sleeping. And I wanted to say for the video that I thoroughly empathize and understand, because this is not really particularly fun material to learn, and it can be kind of dry, and plus I'm lecturing all period, so that's unusual. So I get it. You want to know how much I empathize with those who are kind of asleep at the switch in this class? Okay, you know what? I'll just be honest with you. When I was in 11th grade, my whole life was playing in rock bands. I played bass, and I just wanted to play rock and roll. That's all I thought about. I had a job after school where I'd paint houses, and I was the one in the band who had the money for the microphones and the amps and the speakers, and I always wanted to have the big, huge stacks of amps. And we played so loudly, I loved it loud so you could feel the music in the bottom of your feet. And I'd sit in my classes drawing little miniature stage drawings of like amplifiers and, you know, guys dancing around with their guitars. I would draw it and plan, or I'd be making song lyrics and planning out what we were going to get next. I wanted rock and roll or talking to girls. My teachers, all the stuff they tried to teach me when I was in 11th grade, it was wah, 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 wah. That's what it sounded like. I just thought they were idiots. Rock and roll, man. We played so loudly, my ears still ring today. So I get it. This is a little bit, you know, we're talking about being on a jury, politics. You guys are young, man. You're like, I get it if you're kind of checked out.
Are you trying to guilt trip us?
No, he's using ethos.
What did I just do?
You just
Yeah,
use ethos
exactly. There you go.
to empathize with us.
Is that a lie or is that like full truth? I need an honest answer. If I'm gonna be on your side, I need an honest answer.
No, it was true. But do you see, now, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but did any of you feel yourselves kind of being slightly drawn in? Like maybe this guy gets us a little bit, maybe he understands, maybe he's not such a teacherly, maybe he knows what we're doing. So what I tried to do was with my rhetoric, with my ethos, was to connect with you and let you know I'm with you, I get it, I'm not the enemy here. And if I succeeded a little bit, I got you to come up a little closer to me and be willing to listen to me a little more. That was power, and it works. And if I'm a good teacher, I can connect with you and make you feel that way more often. The bad teachers we have in school make us feel like they don't get us at all, right? Sir. Okay, now this is a little bit intriguing, but let's make this a little more real for you. I'm going to give you something to try. And again, you promised to do this for good and not bad, right? You can try using ethos at home. Let me demonstrate. So, Mom, and by the way, when I was in high school, my mom was really strict, very strict. So, if you have a strict mom, maybe you can relate to this. So I'm going to kind of do a little dramatization. So, Mom, Saturday night, some friends are having a get-together, and you think I could have the car keys and go hang out with my friends? And your mom's over there loading the dishwasher. What's that? Sounds like a party. They're going to be alcohol? Mom, it's just some friends, they're having a get-together. She's doing the dishes. Oh, are the parents going to be there? I don't know, Mom. I'm not going to do anything bad.
Send it for the police.
No, I don't think so. Why should I trust that there's not going to be drinking going on?
You should trust your child.
So you work on her a little more. Okay, Mom, look, I promise you if there's anything bad, like people are getting drunk and stuff, I'll just come home. And if I have the car keys, I'd be able to easily do that. Yeah, no, I don't think you're ready for that yet. And you feel your tension going up, you're getting tense. And you say, really? And she says, really? And you go, oh, great. And you say some word that's maybe not a good word.
Like,
Well, I'll let you use your imagination.
Give an example. Give an example.
Okay, now, is that going to persuade her?
no.
Okay, let's hit the rewind button. Okay, let's hit the rewind button. Okay, we're going back to this. Okay, so she says, no, I don't think so. I don't think I'm ready to let you take the car out on Saturday night and go to some party where I'm sure there's going to be drinking and kids smoking pot.
Don't even talk about that.
Right, you've made that case, but she says, I'm not ready to trust you on that yet. So you're still angry, you're tense. You're going to go to your room, but instead of slamming the door, you go in there, close the door gently, maybe punch your pillow, because that's not going to make a sound. Breathe in, breathe out. Hit the pause button. Hit the pause button. And remember, you're a graduate of my class, and I taught you how to get your way. What would Andrews have me do here? When you're ready, okay, now it may take you 20 minutes. It may take you an hour. But don't come back out to talk to her again until you've calmed down. And you're going to come out calmly like this. And by this time, your mom is probably now in front of the TV. She's done with the dishes. You walk up to her. Hi, Mom, it's me again. And she's sitting there. Hi, sweetie. Yeah, the answer's still no. I know what you're going to ask. And you say, Mom, okay, I know the answer still might be no, but I just wanted to say something to you. Hang on. I went away. I admit I was upset. I admit it, because I was really attached to hanging with my friends and to gaining your trust. I had to do some thinking about it, and I can see where you're coming from. I tried to stand in your shoes, Mom, and as hard as it is to imagine, someday I think if I ever have a teenage kid that wants to go out with the car for the first time on Saturday night, I think I'm going to be terrified. I know what kids do, and some don't ever make it home. I know that. It's scary. I get it, Mom. And I think I'd be as scared as you, honestly. I see you're telling me no, not because you hate me or trying to be mean, but because you're really scared. Is that true, Mom? And she turns to you and looks up and she says, yeah, you get it. I'm worried that you could make a bad choice here. And this is what you say. Okay, well, Mom, I understand you might still say no, but I want to just say this. You and I both know that the day is coming where you have to let go. If it's not Saturday night, it's going to be some other Saturday night, but eventually I'm going to be going forth and with the good lessons about life that you've taught me. And you're going to have to trust that I'm going to be okay, Mom. And if you don't feel I'm ready for that yet, I'm disappointed, because I feel like I am. And I've got my driver's license, and honestly, if it was out of hand, I would come home sober, by 11 o'clock, if it's looking, but you don't think I'm ready. How are you ever going to know if I am responsible if we don't test it? And now, she could hear all this and she could say, yeah, good try. The answer is still no. Okay.
That's where you
That's when you go ask
That's
that.
where you
Both your parents. It doesn't
Well,
always work like
okay, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. Okay, she could still say no, but as soon as you walk away, no, don't go ask the dad. Don't do that. Okay, because then you're trying to wedge them. Don't do that.
Because he said, ask your mom.
You have just said some really great stuff. Let that do its work. What you just said, you built a bridge to her. You showed her that I understand. I'm with you. I understand that you're doing this out of love. I get it. You're disappointed. You're being honest. But as soon as you walk away, she's gonna be sitting there thinking, holy mackerel. She really did put herself into my shoes and try to. That's a mature kid I got. She's gonna be proud of you. And she might come even up to you the next day and say, I've thought about it and what you said, and maybe we'll give it a try. Okay? Or she may still say no, but you've softened her. And the next time you ask, it's going to go better. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is she still denies you don't get your way, but you have made progress. And you've begun to put a wedge into that armor of hers. Okay, best case scenario is she sits there and says, hearing you sound so mature and understanding my feelings on this, maybe I'll let you give it a go. Okay, now, we're going to finish today with something else. Still got some time. Let's say you're back in that courtroom, you've tried the ethos thing with your peers. You've said to them, guys, I understand, we've been here 3 weeks, you're really exhausted from this trial, I am too. We all want to get back to our families and our jobs. A quick decision with us would make it so much easier. I get that. And we can make a good decision that's efficient, but we need to hear each other a little more here. So you've built that bridge. It still didn't change any minds. Aristotle says you have a moral duty to make sure truth and right prevail. You've tried logos, different types of reasoning. You've tried ethos. You've tried building a bridge. None of it worked. Last resort. Not physical violence. Pathos. And pathos is emotional. Write this down. This needs to be in your notes. Emotional manipulation. Now, this is not where you start. You start with evidence, facts, logical reasons. Aristotle prescribes a progressive course of argumentation. Start with the most elegant way to argue, which is being logical. Logos. Ethos doesn't work. This is your last resort. You go here when there's no other choice and you still are trying to win. So what are some emotions we're talking about?
Tears.
Sadness?
Anger.
Anger? What else?
Happiness.
Joy?
Butthurt.
Fear? Okay, you're hurt. Okay, that's what we'll call that. Instead of butthurt, we'll call that indignation. Okay, that's actually the word Aristotle uses. Okay, what else?
Sarcasm.
Sarcasm, not an emotion. That's a tone. Hate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pity?
Yeah.
Sympathy?
Yeah.
Disappointment?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have left off the biggest ones.
Love.
Guilt and shame. Okay, quick word on these emotions. Guilt is temporary, shame is permanent. Anger is temporary, hate's permanent. Pity is a good emotion. Sympathy, pity's a bad emotion. Sympathy's a good emotion.
What's sad's
Sadness, I think that's
depression?
probably temporary. You could be temporarily sad. Now, let's not pack up early unless you want to stay. Nothing else has worked. You're still with that jury. You realize that with this bad decision this jury's trying to make, that we're going to deprive this guy of decades of his life that he can never get back, based upon a shoddy prosecution full of holes, just because we've been seduced by this guy's twinkle in his eye and his nice silk ties. And out of our selfish desire to get back to our lives, we're going to condemn this guy to the loss of his. And we're going to carry that decision with us the rest of our lives. I'm going to be ashamed of us if that's the decision we make. Now you're playing dirty, going for the guilt button, the shame button, appealing to someone's fear. You vote for this guy, he's going to get us in a war. Okay, you're going down into the ditch of mud when you're getting into pathos. It's there because sometimes fools won't hear reason. Questions? We have experienced an introduction to logic.
Before a kiss, I'll say to read my lips. The rest of us are loving.